He knocked me over. I landed on the dog bowl.
This one's wife. Same old Meghan, always cheating. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. Those of you who may be familiar with football may recall a certain chant that was often directed at Arsenal Football Club. Same old Arsenal, always cheating. And this could well be directed at this one's wife. How so? Well, as I've explained previously, that when it comes to the pursuit of success, there are essentially three routes into what everybody attempts to do can be placed. You can either be first, you can either be the best, or you can cheat. When it comes to this one's wife, we know that she's never the first, because invariably the ideas that she has have already been done by somebody else. Leaving aside the issue of plagiarism and copying, more about that in due course, she simply lacks the imagination and ingenuity to come up with something first, and invariably isn't even second. She couldn't even manage first on the call sheet, she was sixth, and when it comes to many of her ideas, they are way down the list. She's certainly not the best. This is because she intrinsically lacks ability. She's not particularly clever, she has no charisma, she doesn't have a particular skill set, for instance, with regard to being an entrepreneur or in relation to business. She doesn't exhibit skills in relation to, for instance, singing, or in respect of negotiation, or marketing skills, or sales pitches. Thus, for her to be the best, well, she's again a long way down the list when it comes to such a ranking. This then leaves her with the option of cheating. And for a narcissist in particular, this proves particularly attractive. It can be the case that a narcissist would be driven to be first. It might be that a narcissist is driven to be the best. But often the narcissism chooses the cheat route because it's often the easiest. As you know, the narcissist operates with a sense of entitlement, no sense of accountability. The narcissist does not recognize boundaries. The narcissist has no emotional empathy for those affected by the actions and omissions of the narcissist. And what you end up with is an individual who regards whatever they do as justified and fair game. Accordingly, cheating is something that would come second nature to many narcissists in order to achieve success. Whether that might be, for instance, cheating on a spouse to have success in another relationship. Might be, for instance, cheating by stealing, so gaining wealth that way. It might be cheating at an examination by copying somebody else's work. There are lots of different ways that cheating can occur. And whilst it's not wholly the preserve of narcissists by any stretch of the imagination, narcissists are prone to engaging in cheating behaviour because their narcissism is geared towards that for the reasons that I've just outlined. And when it comes to this one's wife, we know, because she has form in this regard, that she is somebody who regularly engages in cheating. She has been accused of plagiarism in the past. We have seen instances where sections of her speeches have been taken from speeches made by other people. We have seen that some of the quotations that she has used are actually the quotations that have come from other people. She doesn't provide attribution to anybody else. She doesn't give them credit. She seeks to pass it off as if it was her own idea. We've noticed, for instance, with regard to her recent lifestyle programme, that the attempts have been made to emulate others, such as the Marchioness of Bath, or Martha Stewart, or Pamela Anderson. She lacks imagination, she lacks ability, she lacks application, she lacks diligence, and instead, her narcissism harnesses cheating as a means to try and achieve success. And she's at it again. As reported by the New York Post, it would appear that there's an accusation that this one's wife sought to rip off somebody else when it came to one of her creations a number of years ago. Eric Todisco, or Tudisco, what a great surname that would be if it is Tudisco. Hello, my name is Eric Tudisco. This one's wife is in a copycat crisis. she is facing plagiarism claims from British children's author Mel Elliott. Elliott told the Daily Mail that she sent legal letters to This One's Wife over This One's Wife's cancelled animated Netflix show Pearl, bearing striking similarities to Elliott's Pearl Power books. She stated, "This One's Wife is a feminist who sticks up for other women." Well, that's good of her to say as such. You all know that she's not. So I was disappointed and confused to see how similar Netflix's proposed show Pearl was to my own Pearl Power, who had been created 7 years earlier, Elliott explained. Of course, I can't know if anyone on her team had seen it and been inspired by it, but the similarities were too great for me to ignore, the author added. Again, she's being careful in her wording, but she makes it clear that there are similarities. As part of This One's Wife and Prince Harry's deal with Netflix, Pearl was announced in development at the streamer in July 2021, with This One's Wife serving as an executive producer alongside Elton John's husband, David Furnish. You also understand that David Furnish is never mentioned in his own right. He always has to be mentioned as Elton John's husband. The series was said to be about a 12-year-old girl who learns to step into her power and finds inspiration from influential women throughout history. But Pearl ended up being scrapped, as Netflix claimed at the time they were no longer prioritising animation. Elliott, who published her Pearl Power books in 2014, 2015 and 2018, and was in discussions to adapt the franchise into a TV series involving tennis icon Billie Jean King in 2019, claimed her legal team sent a formal letter to This One's Wife's camp in 2021 alleging possible infringement of her copyright. The similarities between your proposed animation series and my client's work appear to be too many and too striking to be mere coincidence, the letter read. Elliott claimed she sent 2 more letters to This One's Wife's Archwell Productions and Netflix, but she never heard back. What saddened me most is that my objection was never acknowledged. Neither Netflix nor Archwell responded to me when I would have loved to have contributed and collaborated, Elliott said. The author also clarified that she wasn't trying to get This One's Wife show cancelled, but she wanted to be acknowledged or invited to work as a collaborator on the series. Pearl was my dream project, and now annoyingly, if I reprise my own creation, it's going to look like I have copied the idea from someone else, she explained. Elliott careful in what she's accusing This One's Wife of, but it wouldn't be a surprise, would it, to find that This One's Wife has gone and taken somebody else's idea and passed it off as her own. As you know, This One's Wife engages in character trait acquisition, which is one of the pursuits of the prime aims. Because she is essentially empty, what she has to do is acquire aspects of other people, their character, their experiences, their ideas, in order, in essence, to make herself look more interesting and, in certain instances, with regard to trying to succeed. Whilst Elliott has been careful in what she has alleged, you all know that given the fact that This One's Wife is a narcissist and the way that she has behaved in the past, that it is more than likely that This One's Wife has seen somebody else's production and pinched the idea. Having no emotional empathy for how that would affect somebody, operating with her sense of entitlement to take things that belong to other people and pass them off as her own, having no sense of accountability for her behaviours, not recognising boundaries, and given the fact that there are many instances of This One's Wife doing this, from taking other people's ideas, wearing clothing that other people have worn first, for behaving in a way that's similar to other individuals, the mirroring that she is engaged in, time and time again, we have seen Markle the magpie coming along and pinching from others and seeking to pass it off as herself. And therefore, whilst Elliott has been careful with her accusations, we all know that it is more than likely that This One's Wife did pinch Pearl, did seek to pass it off as her own, and Netflix, or whilst they didn't acknowledge the correspondence that was sent by the lawyers, undoubtedly will have looked into it and thought, there is a similarity, and also, it's so shit, we don't really need to run the risk of a lawsuit. If they thought the idea behind Pearl was really, really good, they might have fought it, because they would have deemed, well, at the end of the day, we'd have still made so much money from it. We could have reached a compromise and paid that person off. After all, as you've just heard, Elliot was open to collaboration. So it wasn't as if she was fighting tooth and nail for every red cent that Netflix might have made from it. No, I'm pretty certain that if they'd have offered her some form of payment and collaboration, she'd have gone along with that, and Netflix could have made money from it also. As it stands, it would appear to me that the threat of the lawsuit, combined with the fact that they realised that this one's wife's ideas are piss poor, caused them to think, we're not going to run the risk and we're going to shelve it. After all, we all know that this one's wife has a history of taking things that don't belong to her. With no imagination, no ingenuity, and piss-poor execution, this one's wife once again has been shown to be the individual that is always cheating. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.